A walk from the repressa. That's the main spring. This is the waterfall. This is ours for our house. I'm going to walk down the creek and the trail. See if I can keep recording. All the difficulties. Walking in the creek that runs up behind my house. October the 9th, 2010. I'm going to just try to take the camera with me just for fun. Except I forgot my machete, so I got to go back and get it. The water's dirty because I've been standing in it, but it'll clear in a couple minutes. There's my machete. I might need this. Sometimes there's a plant called Ortega, which is really a giant tropical stinging nettle. The rocks in the water. The rocks are extremely slippery, but you get used to it after a while. A lot of rocks. This mountain must be eroding for millions of years. Incredibly. Supposedly the age of Puerto Rico is about 130 million years. Puts it coming out of the ocean about the same time California did. Supposedly it geologically formed out of the Caribbean plate, tectonic plate, about 130 million years ago around Panama, and has been moving northeast. Pretty soon it'll just be moving east, and after that southeast towards Venezuela. So these rocks are the product of millions of years of erosion and evolution of the tectonic plates. I think I got a splinter in my shoe. See if I can continue to walk. This is a real slippery spot right here. Don't know how long this will keep recording, but it's kind of fun to see if I can get a good recording. Down here is my brother-in-law's repressa. He has a bypass, but the bypass isn't working, so he's just getting his water directly out of the creek right now. Which is, I cleaned this filter earlier today. That's this filter. It's been here, God, 50 years or better, probably. So we press it right in the creek. This pipe has quit dripping. I don't know why. I have to get my shoe off. I got something in my shoe. Don't know if it came to, yeah, it looks like it came right through the bottom, whatever it is. Piece of wire. Well, that didn't feel good. Up there is the spring. A nice forest around here. Wow, that's a pretty nasty little piece of wire. I could feel it. I'll have to find a home for it, buried someplace. Maybe it won't show up for another million years. Anyway, get my shoe back on. I have to set the camera down, I think. Let you enjoy the view. I want to get my shoe on. Kind of an odd thing to pick up in the creek bottom. A sharp piece of wire. Probably an old cattle fence from years ago. Okay, here we go. Let's finish taking our trip. I had this cleared out earlier. Trying to help my brother-in-law out so he has water. It was pouring out. I don't know what. White plugs again. It's got little tiny holes. Oh, there's little rocks get in here, and they block it. None of them gold. I keep checking. Get that cleared out. Let that water start flowing again. I push all the bigger rocks through the holes. See? Little holes in there. There, he should be getting some water now. He's got about a 5,000 gallon tank. Just trying to push some of the rocks out of the way. Oh well, give it my best shot. I'm sure water's getting in there. A 5,000 gallon reserve. I guess he is not in as bad a shape as me with only about 700 gallons. The type of rock slime here is very, very slippery and precarious. A lot of trees that broke down during the storm. But still, this is really an amazing area. Oh, we hear something really neat. If I can get to it without falling on my butt. It smells like wine in here. The breadfruit trees have dropped all their fruit. Nobody's here to pick it up. And it smells just like wine, like going by a winery. And here I call this the crypt. It's a pretty interesting spot. Has water running through it. There's even some croquis and things living in there. Very interesting spot. The crypt. Alright, let me get back on the trail. My battery's getting used up little by little, but what the heck, we'll see how far we can get with this. The creek continues down this way for quite a ways, till it passes by my house and my brother-in-law's house. Kind of zigzag your way around. I'm not always watching the camera, so if you get bored with the view, it's because I'm not watching where I'm pointing it. I'm watching where I walk. Even though it doesn't look like much when you're in here, very steep country. This is a really neat spot back here in the woods. Really neat spot. There's my water line going that way. Looks like a tree's falling. Which is part of the natural cycle here. As the trees fall, the younger ones come up, and the banana crops, the wild banana crops, get a chance to put out a crop. Most of the time, the old trees hang in there pretty good even during the storms. Whoa. There's a lot of bejucos, which is tropical vines. They make my journey kind of like walking on an obstacle course. Always trying to trip you. This trail is very steep, very narrow, and very slippery. You get kind of a feel for it. Yeah, it was a big tree that fell in the clearing there. Doesn't look like it hurt my water lines. Down there is the creek. This is natural. Of course, the vines and the young trees will quickly cover it up. 1 or 2 trees falling in the forest is no big deal. It's part of the natural cycle. When you chop down the entire forest, well, that changes everything. Kind of unusual amount of light in the forest today. It's usually fairly dark back in here. There's a tree that's fallen. This is the way nature works. Alright, if I can keep from slipping anymore, I'm walking on the trail back to my house. Not sure how far it is. I know I got 800 feet of water line, but that's going basically straight. This trail here zigzags up and down the mountain. So, get a better feel for it. Right now although the angle's about 40 degrees, 35 degrees. I don't know. It's pretty steep. A lot steeper than it looks. The video camera has a tendency to not really show you what I'm going through here to get down these trails. It doesn't really give you a good feel for it, but I'll do the best I can. There's the old water line for the neighbor who's moved out. That water line, I think somebody sabotaged it, or he sabotaged it, because it's considerably longer than mine and does not work at all. Somebody'd have to really spend a whole day. So these little natural bridges in the forest, full of vines, jungle vines, what they call bahucles. Some of these bahucles are useful. You can make ropes and baskets. A lot of useful plants. Oh, there's a native Puerto Rican palm tree. Imagine the fruit of those were carried around by parrots originally, but there's no more parrots in this forest. Deforestation of Puerto Rico took care of that. I think most of these areas don't sustain enough food for a large population of parrots anymore. But you never know. A lot of species have a tendency to bounce back, or new species will take over where one species left off. That's better suited. Whoa, this is dangerous. One secret to walking in the forest: never step on a log. Just about all of them are slippery. When you're walking down the trail, you try to stay to the dirt. Even though the dirt's muddy and slippery, it's not nearly as slippery as stepping on fresh fruit or tree roots that have moss growing on them. What people call limo here. When you step on them, they have a tendency to slip right out and crack your butt. Coming down the trail, it's a very, very pristine walk. Right now the humidity is up really high. Although I'm not sweating that bad and I'm not feeling the sun, I do feel the humidity and the heat around me. And don't hear too many birds today. I did see a lot of doves in the forest earlier. There's a big pigeon, the redneck pigeon, that uses these forests a lot. Getting stickers off of me. I see a few lizards. They take off and hide pretty quick. There's one right there, a little forest lizard. If you can see him. Oh, there he goes. I hear a cuckoo. Not sure what species, but I could hear it in the background. I don't know if you could hear it or not. Reaching another zigzag. You notice a lot of trees are down. You'll see the tips are cut. That's only people clearing for the trail. There's a lot of old cow trails and agricultural trails through this area. This is an old one that goes way back up in there. Best I know, nobody's been up there in quite a while. I do see a lot of openings in the forest now. A lot of the old trees have fallen, making room for young trees. There's a spot right there where a tree has opened up the forest. See if I can focus in on that a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's good too, because birds find certain types of foods by the young trees. Certain type of natural food plants will begin to grow. Young, tender things. An older forest doesn't offer a lot of food at the bottom because, whoa, that's what I'm up against. Slippery, slippery mud. That was almost me falling on my butt. Anyway, the older forest doesn't support a lot of young grasses and stuff like this because they can't get enough light. Whoa, this whole area is slippery. Whew. This is a steep corner. I think it's part of the problem. I just loaded up with stickers again. These little guys really stick. They're like Velcro. I think this is God's invention of Velcro before man. They get all up on your pants. Kind of uncomfortable when they rub against your skin. So I try to get them out of there and keep going. The other side, there's that destruction I've talked about in earlier YouTube videos. This is the edge of the property, so you start to see the destruction over there in the clear areas. It's really a shame. I really don't like mismanagement. It ruins more than just the aesthetics of the area. It ruins it for everybody. The natural forest, though I do know there is a way to balance agriculture and management of the forest, but some of the practices here are really old school, where man wants to control nature, and in the end nature will win once it gets really upset and off balance. A lot of things go bad, like landslides and things. A couple of years, this whole hillside is going to have problems that's been cleared because the roots will begin to die. And those roots give way. This soft ground, which is mostly sandy loam, will start to erode, wash away, maybe even cause what they call a derrumbe, a landslide. So that's a really poor practice. You've got to do it almost like a chessboard. Clear a little patch out, kind of do it like nature does, clear a little patch out, grow something, let it grow back, clear out a new patch. But if you clear everything, called clear cut, better known as clear cutting, you end up with a forest that will give you one or two good harvests and then starts to erode away all this beautiful organic topsoil that you see. And that's no good. Right now, if you clear this forest, you could probably plant a good crop, although it doesn't get enough sun here. But after a couple of years, you'll see your crops and your yield will go down to almost nothing as the forest runs out of nutrients. Here in the forest, it's a constant cycle. These rotting trees and rotting vines continuously, and leaves, continuously put new nutrients into the soil. And once this has all been cleared off, it won't do it anymore. There's a small old tala of guineos, or better known as banana plants, that are just hanging in there. Whoops, missed the trail. Waiting for their opportunity to put out a crop. If one of these old trees should fall, and they get enough sun, they'll start putting out a crop of bananas. Until then, they just grow up so high and get sick and weak and die like this one. They're just waiting for their opportunity. But it's interesting, they've probably been here for 50 years doing the same thing, just waiting for their opportunity. Once in a while, a big tree will fall. One of these big trees up here, and the forest will fall, open up enough light, and this little tala here, wild bananas, will begin to, or feral bananas anyway, will begin to put out a crop. But if you kind of emulate that in nature, you can really do a nice job of agriculture and produce crops at the same time and manage the forest at the same time. Everything can be done together in harmony and balance. There's no need to destroy ignorantly. This is another opening in the forest where the neighbor had their water tank. There's an old access road here that's now completely overgrown. And I like that because that means nobody's up here nosing around. I see little birds dashing back and forth in the forest, but they're so quick. Very hard to catch. It's the heat of the day, so most animals are chilling out, sleeping, doing anything besides putting themselves at risk. In the evening and the mornings, there's a lot more activity and a lot more sounds in the forest. I hear frogs down in the creek. They're happy. There's a lot of water in the creeks right now. And I'm coming up close to my house here. I'm going to cross the fence right here. Get back over on my side. Oh. Made it. I hear my chickens. There's the forest. I just came off this mountain, way up there. Can barely see the mountain tip from here. Let's see if I can focus on it. I just came from that area up there, through this forest over here. Alrighty, it's another Ranger Randy show here in the Jurutungo, Morovis, Barrio San Lorenzo, Sector Riachuelo. Year 2010, October.